spell your name for us first?
Adam Plugge, Plugge.
Title for you?
Commander.
Of a particular unit or anything?
Investigations Division.
Good on audio?
I think so. All right. So I guess I want to start with kind of the newer stuff that we didn't know here before today. Have you been with us at all?
No.
Okay. So who was the person that was shot? What do you know about them?
We know very little. He does have a little background. Has been arrested by law enforcement out of the county before. I can't get into what his prior arrests are. And we have had contact with family members and talked to them as well.
Okay. Are those family members out of the area as well?
Out of the area as well.
Like, where?
The family that we had contact with is living in Fresno County.
Fresno County. Okay. So they're in the valley. Have you any idea what he was doing in Bakersfield that day?
That we do not know. We don't have any idea the reason why he was in Bakersfield on August 24th.
Okay. It says here he had a knife, and he had possibly had some wounds that were self-inflicted. Can you tell us about what you saw there and what made you believe they were self-inflicted?
Yes, essentially the autopsy did occur. The final results have not been released at this time, but there were a couple stab wounds that the subject did have to his chest that we believe are self-inflicted stab wounds to the upper part of his chest.
I just feel like we're getting a little ahead. Can you kind of go over the timeline of how it was?
That is fine.
Yes, on August 24th, Friday, the California Highway Patrol received numerous emergency calls regarding a single vehicle accident that had occurred on northbound 99 north of 7th Standard. One of the officers that was close by responded, traveling northbound on Highway 99. As he arrived in the area, he located a subject walking on the right-hand shoulder of northbound 99, north of where the single vehicle accident had occurred. Through the investigation, it was determined that the vehicle that had been involved in the accident, being driven by Felipe Perez, had veered off of Highway 99. He was traveling northbound on Highway 99, veered off of Highway 99, going through the east side fence shoulder, went across Seco Road in the 4600 block and collided with a fence and a pole at a business in the 4600 block of Seco Road. Also during the investigation, it was determined that he was able to get out of the vehicle. He crossed back over Seco Road, hopped over the fence back onto Freeway Highway 99, and began walking northbound on the east side shoulder of Highway 99. This all occurred about 12:03 p.m. is when the original phone calls came in regards to the single vehicle accident.
So were they drivers that were calling this guy in?
Yes.
Okay. They were saying, "Hey, I just almost hit a guy in the road."
They witnessed the traffic collision because the vehicle had obviously left the freeway, went through the fence line and ran into a fence line and a pole in the 4600 block of Seco Road. So they were calling in on the traffic accident. We also had received an additional phone call from a subject as the officers were responding in regards to the same subject walking northbound on Highway 99 armed with a knife. The first officer arrived on scene, located the subject walking northbound on the east side shoulder of Highway 99, a couple hundred yards north of where the vehicle came to rest after the single vehicle accident. The officer got behind the subject, turned on his emergency lights from behind, alerting the drivers that were coming up northbound 99 to the fact that they were on the east side shoulder and essentially keeping them from being struck or hit. Continued to follow the subject northbound 99. The officer is giving numerous commands for the subject to stop, sit down on the ground. Notice that he was injured, wanting to get medical aid for the subject. The subject still refused to cooperate or comply with the officer's commands to sit down and stop walking so medical aid could be obtained for him. The subject continued walking northbound on 99 with the officer in his vehicle, continuing to give commands, following the subject. At one point, the subject bolted out into northbound Highway 99 traffic, into the middle lane of the highway, almost being struck by a vehicle. He didn't get struck by the vehicle at that point. He moves back into the right-hand lane of northbound Highway 99, and eventually crosses over Highway 99 in front of a big rig that was forced to stop because he had crossed the lanes of traffic in front of the big rig. The subject was able to cross northbound Highway 99, go to the center median of the freeway, at which time the officer makes his way across the traffic lanes, crossing traffic, and gets behind the subject, who's now in the center median shoulder area of northbound Highway 99, still giving the subject commands. He had radioed to other responding officers at that point because he is still the only highway patrol officer that had arrived on scene. The other officers were still responding. They were coming from greater distance than he was. As he is giving him commands, he eventually gets out of the highway patrol officer, sees a knife at that point as well as he's walking northbound. He exits his vehicle, attempts to get the subject to stop and get on the ground numerous times, again commands, giving the subject commands, and the subject is not complying and not wanting to sit down on the ground and continues to walk northbound for a short distance. At one point, the subject turns and aggressively comes towards the officer, closing the distance between the officer and the subject. Keep in mind that this is happening on northbound 99 with traffic in the middle of the day. The subject aggressively approaches the officer with a knife. The officer fires numerous rounds from his department-issued firearm. It's unknown at that point if he was actually struck or not. The subject continues moving forward as the officer is retreating on the center median. The subject then climbs over the concrete wall on Highway 99, crossing over into the southbound lanes of Highway 99 at that point. The subject then goes into southbound Highway 99 traffic lanes, in traffic again, and at one point is attempting to get into vehicles, including a vehicle that he attempted to get in. He attempted to get in that vehicle. As he was grabbing onto the vehicle sped away, causing him to fall to the ground. The officer is still behind the subject, giving him commands to stop, get on the ground. He's still not complying with what the officer's commands are at that point. At one point, the subject again turns and aggressively approaches the officer, and again, the officer fires rounds from his department-issued firearm at that point, causing the subject to fall to the ground. Additional highway patrol officers then arrive on scene about that time, a little bit before, at about that time, and they approach the subject and begin to provide him medical aid at that point. He was declared deceased on scene.
Okay. This guy was clearly not in his right mind. Was he trying to die a suicide by cop? Was he under the influence of something at the time? And what was driving his behavior? Is there any indication at this point?
We don't have any indication at this point. We do not know for sure. There is no medical, mental type official document or information that we have at this point to know exactly what his intentions were, other than his actions with the knife and not following commands and aggressively going towards the officer. The toxicology report from the autopsy is going to take some time to get back. So we do not know at this point if he was under the influence of alcohol, drugs, at this point, no.
What about a previous criminal record of any sort?
He has been contacted by in the past by law enforcement, but I can't release exactly what he's been contacted prior for.
Wait, contacts or convictions?
He has been arrested in the past in other counties outside of Kern County.
And were there subsequent convictions for something? Or?
Yes.
Okay. Can you speak to whether they were violent or drug-related or white collar?
I don't have any information specifically in regards to those particular cases, and I can't comment on that.
Okay. Was there any indication that the wreck that immediately preceded this had anything to do with his odd behavior afterwards? Did he whack his head and have a concussion or something, or was he already a little loony before the crash?
That I do not know. We don't know what his state of mind was before the crash. And obviously with the crash, I don't have any indication as to what his mental status at that time was. But as I said before, he was able to get himself out of the vehicle, make the decision to cross onto the freeway again, continue to walk northbound on the freeway, continue to go in traffic, continue northbound on Highway 99, make it across to the center median of Highway 99, and cross over the concrete wall of Highway 99 into southbound lanes, and again attempt to get into vehicles going southbound on Highway 99.
This is like kind of an extraordinary case. Like just in my news experience, this is kind of an extraordinary case. Have you ever thought about what this may have looked like, or how it may have gone down if this happened at night? It was dark. Like, I mean, given what this guy was doing, I mean, how much worse could this have been? If he's in and out of a freeway at 75-mile traffic.
Well, absolutely. I mean, if you're talking about at nighttime, even during the daytime, I mean, Highway 99 is a major thoroughfare through Kern County, up and down the state. I mean, obviously, somebody running in and out of traffic, the speed limit there, I believe, is 70 miles per hour. It could have been tragic for a family or other folks that were traveling on northbound 99 at that point. Whether if they would have struck him or just making the effort to avoid him could have caused a lot of issues and problems with other people traveling on Highway 99.
And in the course of the investigation, did you speak with some of those other drivers that were, eyewitnesses to this or tried to swerve? I mean, where are some of these information come from?
Yes, we've talked to numerous drivers on Highway 99 that day. We urge anybody else that we have not contacted or does have information to please come forward and provide us a statement if they have not contacted or talked to our detectives at this point.
Given the circumstances, do you think that the officer in question performed as trained? Did he do a good job that day? How would you assess his response to this situation?
Well, that's not for me to determine. There's a process for the things that to help that determination in that matter. The safe thing is that he went home that evening. Unfortunately, one of the subjects is deceased, but the officer went home that evening at the end of his shift, thankfully.
That first, this is my only other question. That first group of shots, the first time the officer had to fire on the individual, do you know, obviously he proceeded to keep doing what he was doing, but do you know if he was struck in that first initial shots fired or not until the second time?
We do not know for sure if he was struck during that first time that he approached the officer in the aggressive manner and eventually climbed over the center median. We don't know.
And was the officer, I kind of missed, was the officer in the car the whole time? Or he had to eventually get out of his car when he had crossed the median?
The officer was in the vehicle for a majority of the time on the east shoulder, trying to get the subject to comply and waiting for the other officers to respond to arrive on scene. He did have to exit his vehicle at one point, and that's when the subject came at him with the knife, and he retreated. He was outside of his vehicle at that point.
I want to be clear on that. Thank you.
Yes.
Did any of the shots that were fired hit any passing cars?
There was one vehicle that did hit a passerby, yes.
Was that like a gray truck headed through the windshield?
I believe so.
That was a close call. I mean, were those folks okay? Who was in that car?
Yes, they were okay. We obtained statements from them. They were okay. No medical aid needed at that time for them.
And so, I mean, the bullet passed presumably between them. If there's a driver and a passenger, do you know about how that went? I mean, how close a call was that?
No, I don't have the information exactly where it struck the vehicle.
And was that someone that was coming south as the officer was firing at the guy to the north, like facing north?
I don't know. I don't know at what point during the first incident or the second incident. I don't know exactly where they were. They were traveling southbound on Highway 99, but I don't know in which incident from when the subject was coming after the officer when that happened. No.
Kind of tough place for any officer to be in, to have to make that decision with so much public and cars passing by. But obviously, there was an issue, a danger to the public with them walking around on the freeway.
Absolutely. Just like we discussed before, there's numerous things that could happen, and potentially other people getting into accidents, either trying to avoid him or actually colliding with him if that were to occur. So other people getting injured or hurt was increased by that at that point. And then in addition to that, the follow-up with him trying to get into other vehicles that were traveling southbound Highway 99, again, we don't know what his intentions were at that point.
So just to kind of expand on that a little bit, so these cars, I'm guessing, have slowed down quite a bit if they're seeing this activities are coming up on them. He's coming up to drivers that have slowed way down and tugging at their car doors, or how is that?
Yes, there is one vehicle that we are aware of that he actually did grab onto the door and for all intents and purposes appeared to try to get in the vehicle.
Do you know who was driving that vehicle? A man,
No.
woman, anything like that?
No.
But he was unsuccessful in getting in?
Yes.
Door locked or something like that?
We don't know what the situation was with that
He didn't
vehicle,
get
but it just appeared that he did try to attempt to get in that vehicle, and we don't know what his intentions were. Obviously, that is a concern as well with what was unfolding, but we don't have the specifics in regards to whether that vehicle was locked, unlocked, or just was unable to gain entry at that point.
Can you recall in your time here another case like this? A shooting in this kind of setting? I mean, is there over this kind of thing in the academy, like, a guy darting in and out of the lanes of 99 with a knife trying to carjack people?
In my time, in 20 years, I have not seen another case like this, no.
So there's no rule, you don't drill for this kind of thing?
Not necessarily, no.
Okay.
I don't think that, yeah, no.
Okay. I think that's the end of my question. Good.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you very much.